If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Are you looking for some excitement? Something to get over the COVID-19 hump? For a loving boost of knowledge and information, peace, happiness, joy, and creativity in every news story that you can find? Well, you're in the right spot. Boy, have I got something for you. I've got a dose of mediation, of joy, of love. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Rural areas are slowly fighting for what they have, but been deprived of for a long time, and that is city resources. So what they have and what they don't have is what city people may be taking advantage of. One USA Today article homes in on the teacher shortage for rural areas, but the article also brings to mind the fight that has been brewing for rural areas for some time in America, the fight that's been brewing from inside of the rural communities, the fight to somehow get the basic necessities that cities have. Rural areas lack internet access, nearby stores with shopping centers, hospitals, along with other types of emergency care that are all out of reach for the rural communities. Now, the central issue of this article is education and access to teachers, but there's more to it that tickles the imagination, in which you probably can assume that the rural communities don't have, but you may not know. Now, most rural communities not only have to homeschool their children, but when they can't, they have to have access to teachers and nearby schools outside of their inner homes because they're far away. Now, overall, this is a good headline that could spark some new ideas and for lawmakers and entrepreneurs when it comes to helping and getting rural communities the resources and things that they need to function. Just basic stuff like a channel that shows a smiling face full of love and excitement, fulfilling the needs of peace and mediation. That's why story number 1 made it in this week. Story number 2. Corporate America is creeping back into the headlines. One report by Sean Combs, better known as P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, who's at the center of a debate that puts the attention on corporate America.
I don't know what they want from me. Looks like the one he come about. I'm the D to the A.
I'm sure you get the point. The argument now is ad dollars for black media companies that hold a 15% stake in investment into companies like GM and other well-known companies when it comes to consumption. Now, this is about corporate America. And Diddy is pulling out some of those strings, pulling out those cards, saying, hey, we've been investing the African-American community. Where's our percent? Diddy's argument is legit because what he is saying is putting a lot of attention on a huge percentage of why minority communities are struggling. Now, there has been a brewing argument about violent content fed to minorities for years, with most of it coming from spending from top executives. Now, what's sad about this story is P. Diddy could be a product of this argument inside of story number 2, and that's real, but he is bringing up a valid point. Story number 3. Should sea level rise and plastic be a top concern? One story in The Guardian is keeping climate change in the news, and the central issue is that sea levels are reported to be rising. Earth Day is this week, and the talking points in this article bring to mind some simple facts about what climate activists have been screaming for some time now when it comes to protecting people from climate change. Climate activists see data that they believe proves that humans are harming the planet and that the planet is fighting back. Now, the long, detailed article goes on to point out how fossil fuels and carbon emissions have to come to a complete halt to slow down damage that is already taking place to our environment, the Earth. Now, the article also points out how rising sea levels are on a course to top 20 feet and could devastate coastline states. The article is a serious reason for climate enthusiasts and anyone seeking to be informed about climate change. Now, what the article fails to do is express the views of scientists who have opposing data and information in this argument, or if there is any, to be exact, if there's any opposing views or any opposing data. Right now, the people who are running the tables are saying that it's real. The climate change is real. Now, another headline that made it in: Wired reports that plastic is falling from the sky, and scientists are trying to figure out where the plastic is coming from. They're saying that plastic is washing up on the shores, city streets. It's everywhere, in our stomachs, in our bodies, and we're consuming it. So story number 3 is a big headline that really shines not only a light on Earth Day, but on what we're doing to the environment, human beings. And that's why I made it in this week. We have to start loving our home, if it's not too late. Story number 4, Iran won't give up on its nuclear ambitions, and it's causing a ripple effect of policy changes and deals in the Middle East. With new stories emerging about Iran's nuclear program, Israel is now in the mix after not only a power outage, but a long list of other interactions in the Middle East involving the two countries. Iran has also been on edge after one of its top nuclear physicists died in a separate incident earlier last year. Now, this is Iran blames Israel for all of this, everything that's been going on, and also they've been putting America in the mix. Now, as uranium enrichment continues, Iran continues to make international headlines about violations of the 2015 nuclear deal, because they've been violating the deal and they won't even go back into it. They don't want to make another deal, and they've been dealing with China. Now, recently, a story about a mysterious blackout in Iran has emerged in the headlines, making this story even more interesting. And that's why story number 4 made it in this week. Well, those are our top 4 international headlines in developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're doing. You're watching and waiting for a story to tell. Why not think? Why not write? Why not be encouraged to do it? Let's get to it. Story number 5. Gun violence continues to be a central issue. Bang, bang. After the shooting in Syracuse, New York, of an 11-month-old baby, it is clear that violence is a serious concern for lawmakers. People, period. Stop the violence. Incidents after violent incidents, after incident. So violence after violent, incident after incident involving gun violence in America continues to make headlines. It just won't stop. The killing, this terribleness of just violence. That's why I've decided to become the mediator, to try my best to give you the stories to save you, and to show you that violence is not the answer. A high school shooting at Knoxville in Tennessee in high school also made some headlines after a student opened fire on a police officer. This is bad news, folks. This is not who we are as Americans. We can be better. We can be greater. Another headline about an officer being lunged at with a knife also made headlines. Man, this is bad. With more stories coming in every week about gun violence, people are becoming more active about gun legislation, gun laws, and guns, period. Story number 6. America is yearning to go back to the old school hard knock education days, and teachers are the main reason. Should we bring back the paddle? Hell no. Hell yeah. Hell no. I don't know. Maybe. With the spread of computers and online learning adding to the new shortage of teachers, America is yearning to go back to old school hard knock education, but they need the teachers to do it. Online classes, some kids aren't built for online classes. They need the interaction. Most informed parents are doing everything they can to get their kids and their children, to be exact, a quality education. But the fact is that where there are a few soldiers on the field, there are a few people to fight the battle. Now, in many aspects of the profession, teachers have grievances and feel they are not being heard. That means they have some demands about their own classrooms and how they want to teach. But if they're not being heard, they're leaving the field. Pressure is also on schools and teachers because of grades, graduation standards. So grades and graduation standards, and on top of that, government regulations. Now, the cost of education has also increased over the years, and the structure of funding plays a big role in what is fair when measuring results. When we talk about education and kids being educated. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week.
I've got something for you, a story to make you feel brand new. Bump, bump, bump. I've got something to make you excited about the new. It's mediation. Don't you feel it, baby? Just had to get it out.
Some nurses and doctors are hanging in there, but some nurses are throwing in the towel. It's real. Now, in the battle to defeat COVID-19, the medical field is seeing a mass exodus of doctors and nurses. They're giving up. Now, it is clear that COVID-19 fatigue is real and is being felt across the board. In a test of endurance and willpower, there are two worlds fighting in this battle, causing nurse fatigue, and that is decay in quality of living and safety when it comes to treating and caring for sick and shut-ins. Now, just think, Mother Teresa once had to work with dirty needles in some battle zones. So nurses are giving up the fight. Calcutta lives on. Medical professionals are also at odds with the fact that there is little room for error. Now, these factors are causing many in the medical field to throw in the towel. But the reality is, in the past, when they had little, their heart kept them in it. Now that we have much, our heart is what's going to keep us in the fight. And that's why story number 7 made it in this week. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made it in this week. Whew, it made it to the top story. Oh. Whew. The U-turn that police are facing in America and the world. People on the front lines, the police are becoming the center of attention when it comes to the inner city and previous altercations with the public. So these are altercations that stem back for a long time. And some people say this is a story to take center stage. Now, the reality is that people have been screaming foul because of how the police have been interacting with the public for years. And this is not just with the blacks. This is probably with a lot of people. Now, there are historical documents from slavery, but this has been going on for a while. Now, this is after yet another police shooting and killing of a suspect of African American descent. Now, this is in which the officer claims that she shot the suspect by mistake, but police news stories continue to drag on, and they have been dragging on for some weeks now, for months, for almost 2 years, for a long time. And historically, stories like this, they stem back from even the Great Depression days, that time period. Now, the key talking point in this story is that if an officer has the right to give a suspect the death penalty before giving a fair trial. Now, that is with all altercations. I have to show emphasis on this because America is filled with all types of people. So we can't. This has been happening not only just in inner city African American communities. Some people say that officers are just too aggressive and they need to tone it down so things can be done properly. So that's why these stories are building bigger justice reform cases with a mountain of questions. Now, these are questions that are mounting and lawsuits that are mounting. A mountain of lawsuits and questions and conflict between the police and the public. Now, what we're talking about is the fact that when people see somebody dying at the hands of an officer trying to uphold justice, they don't see this as a sign of justice. They see this as a sign of injustice. And that's why story number 8, if you hear the sirens, that's why I made it this week. Well, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the media, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the man stuck in the middle, the mediator. And if you want to show us some support, it doesn't take much. Help out what we do here. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen at Method 8. Buy something. Click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Have a good week, everybody. I am out of here. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. Stay safe and try to appreciate what you have. Even if it's a little bit, it can sometimes feel like a lot, and it could be a lot. Thank you so much for tuning to the media this week with me, Brian West. Have a good week, everybody. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.